A typical packet of sunflower seeds from a garden center gives you barely a handful of seeds. Not exactly great value. Which makes you wonder, could you just use the sunflower seeds from your kitchen instead? Now, these obviously look nothing like the seeds from the garden center. That's because these are hulled seeds, meaning they no longer contain the hard protective shell. That's why they're perfect for snacking. But what about sowing? Can those hulled sunflower seeds from your kitchen actually grow into viable plants? Well, turns out they can. In fact, they can even germinate faster than the unhulled seeds from garden centers. But there's a catch. Since the protective husks have been removed, we'll need to tweak the sowing process a little. So, let's go through the process. If you're new here, this channel is all about creative ways to level up your gardening game. And today, that means growing sunflowers from the hulled seeds in your kitchen. Now, the first thing to do is to make sure your seeds are fresh. This is important because without those protective shells, sunflower seeds dry out faster. These seeds were purchased recently, and they were probably harvested last fall, so about 7 or 8 months ago. So they should still be good. Aside from protecting against moisture loss, the shell also shields the kernel from physical damage. So it's no surprise that that bag of hulled seeds from your kitchen may contain quite a few damaged seeds. That of course doesn't matter if you're planning to eat them, but if you want to plant them, you should only use kernels that look intact. So the next step is to sort the seeds and only keep the undamaged ones, as they have the best chances of germinating. Also, bigger kernels usually germinate more reliably, so keep that in mind too when sorting out the seeds. Once you've selected the seeds you want to use, it's time to get them started. Normally you'd start sunflower seeds in soil, but with hulled seeds that's not a great idea. Without those protective shells, hulled seeds are easily affected by soil pathogens. So we need an alternative to soil, and that's where paper towels come in. In order for seeds to germinate, they need moisture. So let's get our paper towels damp. Now let's add the seeds. And yes, that's a lot of seeds, but don't let the quantity fool you. We won't be planting them all. We're just starting extra because not all of them will germinate. Plus, by starting many seeds, we can later select only the strongest seedlings for further planting. Now that the seeds are more or less evenly distributed, let's give the whole thing a final spritz of water. And then fold the towel over so that the seeds are fully covered. To keep the paper towels from drying out, we'll put the whole thing in a plastic bag. Sunflower seeds don't need darkness to sprout, so a clear plastic bag is fine. Just make sure not to close the bag too tightly as the seeds need air to germinate. Sunflower seeds also need warmth to germinate. While they can germinate across a range of temperatures, research shows that around 77 degrees Fahrenheit is the sweet spot. Since room temperature is usually a bit lower than that, you can give your seeds a boost by placing the bag in a sunny spot in your home. And if there's not much sun, don't worry. Your seeds will still germinate. It may just take a little longer. Now, with everything set up, all we have to do is wait and let nature do its job. But you won't have to wait for long. In fact, already the next day you may notice some changes when you check on your seeds. Some of the seeds may have split, and some of the pointy white ends may have grown slightly. These are signs that the kernels have began to germinate. On the other hand, you may also notice some mold developing. The good thing is that Since we've used so many seeds, we can now just pick out the seeds that show promise and discard the rest. So, here's the selection of seeds that made it to the next round. Now what we need to do is get some new paper towels and basically repeat what we did on the first day. So we'll wrap the seeds in damp paper towels and slide the whole thing into a plastic bag. And we'll repeat this every day with new paper towels until we notice significant progress. But because whole sunflower seeds progress incredibly fast, we won't have to repeat this many times. In fact, just 3 days after we started this whole project, our seeds already looked like this. And on day 7, they were already this big, which means they're more than ready to go into soil. For that, we're gonna need some pots. Plastic pots work great here because plastic keeps the soil moist for longer. And baby sunflowers are very thirsty. But they also don't want to sit in soggy soil, so make sure the pots have plenty of drainage holes. As for the size, look for pots that are at least 4 inches deep because sunflower seedlings grow fast. Next, fill the pots with high-quality seed starting mix. Then take a moment to pick out your best-looking seedlings. Those are the ones you want to move into soil. When planting, orientation is pretty simple. The roots go down and the green parts go up. You'll also want to plant them deep enough that the whole seedling is buried, with just the very tips barely peeking out above the soil. To do that, just poke a hole in the soil with your finger. And then place the seedling inside. Gently fill the hole back in with soil. Notice how you can hardly see the seedling poking out. That's exactly what we're aiming for. Now repeat that for the rest of the seedlings you want to transplant. When you're done, give your newly transplanted seedlings a good watering. This helps the soil settle around the roots. Then place the pots in a bright spot, such as a south-facing windowsill or under grow lights. And from there, it's just about watching them grow and making sure the soil doesn't dry out. This is what our seedlings look like 3 days after transplanting. 9 days in, and here's what they look like. And here are our seedlings after 3 weeks in the soil. Next, let's talk about the process of hardening off the seedlings. Until now, our seedlings have been growing in a protected indoor environment. But before they're planted in the garden, they need to get used to the harsher outdoor conditions. To harden them off, place them outside in a sheltered spot for a couple of hours during the day. Then bring them back in for the night. Do this every day for 1 to 2 weeks, gradually increasing the time they spend outdoors and in the sun. Once the seedlings can handle the outdoor conditions, they are ready to be planted in the garden. You'll want to plant your seedlings in an area that receives plenty of direct sunlight. But if possible, do the planting on a cloudy day or in the evening to reduce stress on the plants. The soil should be loose and well-draining, but also rich in organic matter to support sunflowers' heavy feeding habits. If needed, you can amend your soil by mixing in some compost. slugs and snails love sunflowers. So to protect your seedling, place a slug collar around the base. Now plant the rest of your seedlings the same way, and don't forget to give them a deep watering afterward. In windy areas, you might also want to stake the young plants. After planting, sunflowers don't need much maintenance. They quickly develop long taproots which allow them to reach water and nutrients deep underground. Because of that, they are generally quite drought tolerant and don't require much in the way of fertilizing. So, just sit back and enjoy watching the transformation over the coming weeks.